Welcome in, everybody, for Saturday Night Racing League. I'm your host, Bradley Cooper.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Again, well, thank you all for being here.
32 cars, green flag at Daytona. And it is a cluster back here for the 15th position. Haley Turner lead him down.
Turner, Stravato, Jeff Wright. We see some lockup, big lockup. 3 wide per second. Sturgeon clears all of them.
Comes down a little bit here in the entry of one.
Porter might just try to run him out of room here. Oh, he bumped in the wall. They're going to crash. They both crash. Ray Massey's going to win it. Are you kidding me?
Another week, another scene. Here tonight, live from the Kansas Speedway. It's time to go back to Saturday Night Racing League and the Challenger Series, presented by V-Speed. Having a little trouble here with my graphic. There we go. Got it to work here tonight. A little bit of a delay, but Jeff Wright back in the booth with yours truly, Bradley Cooper. And Jeff, we've watched 2 multi-time winners now, as Jordan Trask was able to add his name to that list, but Philip Brewer has been on a tear. Even when he's not winning, he's finishing in the top 3, and that's really what it's going to take here to get a championship in the Challenger Series.
Yeah, consistency is key, and those 2 drivers that you just mentioned, Jordan Trask with 2 wins and Philip Brewer having 2 wins as well. Those are bonus points as you get set and get ready to go into the playoffs, and also winning that regular season championship. Those are 10 very valuable bonus points. Currently, Philip Brewer at the top of the standings. As it sits, he holds those 10 bonus points if he can finish there, but don't look too far behind. A lot of hungry drivers, and really looking down the list here, I mean, points gap isn't all that wide. Yeah, it is tight. So we got a handful of races left to go before the end of the regular season. These points could get really shaken up. So Philip Brewer's got to come out and have a good race today. And I know he's been strong at Kansas in the past, so expect him to be fast once again.
Yeah, you're looking back here with Judson Curtis all the way down to Christian Key, and there's only about 20 or so points separating these drivers. So it is a very tight point battle. And you've got Max Koss, Judson Curtis, these guys 1 point apart. Stefan Davis, Michael Muncy tied. Muncy getting the win there to start off the season. He's went quiet for a little while. Hopefully he can get back into the groove of things. But like you said, Philip Brewer and now Jordan Trask, who was outside of the top 10 after his first victory. Had to wait a long time to get him back into the top 10. And after last week, that puts him back up here in the spot for this chase format. We'll take a look here at our race venue, Kansas Speedway, 1.5 miles. This intermediate oval opened June 1st, 2001. 17 degrees of banking, and it's going to be migrating towards the top. A lot of drivers will run the bottom here, Jeff, to try to save tires, but inevitably you're going to end up near the outside if you want to make a pass or maybe a little bit faster to hold a guy off.
Yeah, using the top is definitely a position on the racetrack where you're going to be able to defend really, really well. That brings in, a lot of guys attempting those slide job maneuvers where they'll really try to dive it in deep, slide up in front of the guy, that's running that outside line, and that can sometimes cause issues. We see a lot of incidents happen on the exit of corners here at Kansas Speedway. A very slick racetrack, high tire wear, but a very fast racetrack in that. And I'm excited to be able to watch this race tonight, Bradley Cooper. This is a track that puts on such a great show, both in real life NASCAR, but also in iRacing. So excited to be back up here in the booth, and glad I didn't miss this race because I think we're going to have a great race on our hands tonight.
You were treated to a great race in the Cup Series there in real life. You were there in person when Chase Elliott coming across the line after two drivers got tangled up with each other, too focused on maybe that outside pass working, made contact, and yeah, phenomenal finish in the counterpart here in the real life. But we're getting set up here in just a moment to take the grid. So let's get the race analysis on your screen. 100 laps here today. Pit road speed limit, 45 miles per hour. It's a pretty easy pit road to get onto, but it's also an easy pit road to speed from because you're going to be going about 180 miles per hour into these corners at times. And coming off there, you're back on the throttle. You got to keep that car low. The transition to the apron, it kind of alleviates you from hitting the brake, and you could lock it up, slide through that entrance. Everybody's going to try to get as much as they can here with 4 tire sets available, 80% fuel, 2 green-white checkered attempts on this iRacing fixed setup. With that, though, Jeff, it's time to take them trackside and get the grid up on the screen. Starting on the top position here tonight, Philip Brewer keeping it going. He ran at 30.594. He's going to be about a 10th faster ahead of Jordan Trask, row number 1, with 2 drivers with 2 wins so far this season. Row number 2 belongs to Chuck Sweeting. Noah Michalski looking to rebound after he fell out of the top 15 in points. The 03 starting in 4th. Then you have Keith Thomas and Jared Skinner in row number 3. Justin Ritchie in the 55 with Richard Holland making his return here to Saturday Night Racing League. He'll start in the 8th position. And Judson Curtis in the 29, Max Cost, who's having success in both the Cup and Challenger, rounding out your top 10.
Starting 11th tonight, it's going to be Chris Rude in that number 32. Alongside him in 12th, it's Michael Muncy in that number 19. Rob Hamp will roll off in the 13th spot tonight, alongside Matt Shinosky as he starts 14th. Brandon Wallace has a win this season. He rolls off in the 15th position. Stephen Davis in 16th. Next row goes Dwayne Young. I believe we haven't seen this name in a little while, so good to see him back, rolling off in that number 08. Alongside him, it's John Sanu in the 86th. And in 19th, it's going to be Christopher Hodges alongside the number 88 of Keith Shoemaker.
21st position will go to Andrew Toganoff. Caleb Weekly will start in 22nd. 23rd spot with Logan Waterin. Ben Lafter will start in 24th. And we have a 28-car field here with Hunter Sr., Benjamin Richards electing not to take a qualifying time, and these drivers from on back electing not to take those times, with Mark McFadden and Tad Dabney rounding out your field here today. So there he is, Philip Brewer, the multi-time winner this season. Hey, what do you know, Jeff? We got through the grid before they even hit the track. This will probably help these drivers a little bit because I know they burn a little extra fuel. So we wanted to try to do that. We've been trying for weeks, but when you have 28 cars to talk about and even 35, 36 in the Cup Series, it gets a little difficult.
Yeah, it certainly can. And yeah, it looks like pace car lights are out. So we are going to be going green this time. We have time real quick, though, to make a pick, Bradley. Who do you think takes it home here at Kansas Speedway?
Really liking the odds here for Noah Michalski. I think he needs a rebound, so I'm going to take the 03. I'm going to be hopeful that he can get a victory. He's had a lot of tough breaks here in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Runner-up here a season ago, and that awesome finish with Dakota Floyd. Give me that 75 Chuck Sweeting. I think he finds a way to get it done here at Kansas Speedway.
Well, here we go for another week of Saturday Night Racing League, live from Kansas Speedway. The green flag is out, and we're underway for the Challenger Series. Philip Brewer leads lap number 1. There was some 2 and 3 wide back here around the 3rd position as you have Keith Thomas, Jordan Trask falling back to 4th now. It's going to be multi-groove for probably the first 10 to 15 laps, Jeff, and then everybody's going to kind of migrate to where they're comfortable. You're going to see some of these guys devote themselves to the bottom, especially in the first half of the race, but that outside line can work for you, especially later on.
Yeah, it really can. And I think, at the start of the race here on these restarts, initial starts, everybody's just trying to grab all that they can, all the positions. So you're going to see guys more willing to maybe go up to the top, run a little bit harder, try to get that track position. As this kind of single files out, I think we're going to see a lot of the guys migrate to the bottom of the racetrack because that's just where it's easier to save your tires. So expect that. If you want to go get spots right now, you're going to be guys like Noah Mahalski here, middle of the racetrack on up. And looking towards the back. It looks like everybody's kind of scrambling, trying to get to the bottom, but you're certainly right. This track will widen out, and those guys will have to use that high side to try and make some passes.
So looking through the field and some of the drivers that are already on the move, Michael Muncy was another name that I think needs a rebound after that victory. He's fallen out of the top 10 in points. He started the season off hot, thought, this is going to be a good year for him. And then he just had every race go wrong for him. I think his DNF percentage is somewhere close to 50% this year.
Yeah, but the good thing is you got an opportunity at a racetrack that he's, been good at. These 1.5 mile racetracks have been good tracks for him. So I'm sure he's excited to be back here at a track like Kansas. This is a place he knows he can run well at. This is where he can maybe try to get that luck turned around a little bit. And already looks like he's trying to move up a few spots. You see Jared Skinner there in the 7. Expect him to be good this evening here at Kansas Speedway. We talk about guys that are really good on the long run being pretty good at Kansas Speedway. I think that is a driver that we're going to have to look out for. And don't look too much further back in the middle of the pack, but I think this number 3 of Andrew Telganov making his Challenger Series debut. When we talk about long run speed, this is, that is his bread and butter. So started deeper in the field in 21st, already navigating his way a couple of spots ahead. If we get into, these 20 to 30 lap runs, we start seeing green flag pit stops, I would not be surprised at all. We see this number 3 in that top 10 and then maybe competing for that win even late.
Stephen Davis inside of Chris Rude for the 13th position, not able to clear off of turn 4. And it's going to create maybe an offset 3 wide as you see the one of Hunter Sr. take it all the way through the tri-oval down to the grass. He's going to get the run on the entrance of 1, tugging off to the outside. 3 wide again here off the corner. Push up the racetrack for Rude.
Yeah, now nowhere really to go there for Telganov as he just has to settle in behind Chris Rude, but this track is very wide. You can see that Telganov now electing to go back to the bottom of the racetrack as Chris Rude looks a little bit out of shape. I think he's going to catch it, but that just shows how slick this racetrack really is, and these drivers got their hands full tonight, and I think that's why you're going to see those drivers that are really good at managing their tires, who can handle a loose race car, find themselves towards the front late. And right now, it looks like, pretty orderly towards the front, but we still got some battles back here. Mid-pack on back. Chuck Sweeting now electing to get up to the top of the racetrack, try to build some speed here. See if he has anything here for Philip Brewer.
Got the run there coming off of turn 4, but the 91 of Keith Thomas has been taking the offense to Chuck Sweeting. He's been to the inside for about 2 laps now. It's about a 3-4-way battle for the lead. As Sweeting comes off the corner, it looks like the 91 of Thomas got a little loose down on the bottom, and he'll have to cut off. Shut the door here on Mahalski.
Yeah, just so hard, though, to make those passes on the bottom of the racetrack. You really got to hit the corner just perfectly. Any little bobble or, bad angle on entry and just ruins your opportunity to complete that pass. Because the top of the racetrack here at Kansas Speedway, there's more banking up there. So to overcome that, you really got to hit your marks and you really got to take care of your tires. And sometimes that's the only way I feel like you can make passes on the bottom of the racetrack here, is that you just let enough time go by, enough laps click off, that you've saved your tires a little bit better, and then you can go out in there and try to make a pass.
Mahalski looking the same, and the 91 falls back in line. Some drivers that are still on the move, though. You have Michael Muncy up another couple positions. Now on the edge of the top 5. He's up to 7th, still on the move. Rob Hamp, Stephen Davis side by side. And Davis is also back to where he started, but he was picking up places just a moment ago. Now only 3 up.
Yeah, one driver I'm kind of watching that seems to be struggling a little bit. He started towards the back, and he's still kind of running there. And that's Caleb Weekly, which I'm a little bit surprised to see. He was really strong here a season ago in this very car. And in that same race, Bradley, you were in the field and wheeled your way to a top 7 finish. I'm sure you remember that, as Logan Threlkeld and I had the opportunity to call that, and that was really, really fun to watch. But still early on here in the early goings here at Kansas Speedway, so I'm sure Caleb will get it sorted out, maybe just trying to figure out the balance of the race car, trying to take care of his stuff. But long ways to go. Still a lot can happen.
I remember it oh too well, Jeff. There was a lot of races here in the Challenger Series that, I had limited schedule. And, not to make this broadcast about myself, but it was more of a situation where we wanted to kind of take turns, get the opportunity to get on the racetrack and duke it out with these guys. We've watched it now for 2-3 seasons, and I got to tell you that the competition here, when I say that the competition is stacked here, the Challenger Series is kind of the lower. It's the iRating cap, and there's still guys out here that drive like they're 4,000 or 5,000 iRating at times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we see the guys that run well here in the Challenger Series, they're very competitive in the Cup Series as well. So, don't think that this is, the low hitters and not the heavy hitters as like the Cup Series has, because you guys like Philip or Chuck Sweeting, Noah Mahalski, Trask, those guys are all, guys that can consistently run well in the Cup Series. And also, talk about Dakota Floyd, right? He won multiple championships in this very series for a reason, and now he's, running top 5, top 10. Hasn't got the win yet that he wants in the Cup Series, but I'm sure it won't be long before he does just that. And actually, Nathan Ferrata became the first driver in the SNR to actually win a race in both series when he won the FireStorm Racing 300 at Charlotte just a handful of weeks ago. So, and Nathan Ferrata actually won at Kansas in the Challenger Series back in season 1. And Chuck Sweeting finished runner-up, and that's where he sits right now. So Chuck Sweeting, I'm sure, not want to run in the second place position for too long. Looks like he was kind of pressuring Philip Brewer just a little bit, but it seems like Philip Brewer is just kind of keeping everybody at bay, just running as hard as he needs to.
Another car that's now on the move, the 17 of Richard Holland, just got around Jared Skinner, now looking to the inside of Judson Curtis here through 1 and 2. And they're sliding. Going to end up costing him a position there. Slid up the racetrack. You see the back end of that car stepping out through the exit of 2. And he had Curtis to the outside, so he couldn't really afford to just let it slide up the track. And unfortunately, that's going to scrub a lot of speed.
Yeah, and the track temp has gone up a little bit since qualifying. I think as it sits, we're seeing a track temp over 100 degrees. And anytime you have that, 102 is what we're seeing right now. So that's going to make the track even slicker as the race goes on, and the sun's still beating down on this racetrack. And I'll tell you what, though, as a driver, this is one of the most fun racetracks to drive. And, not only because it is multi-lane, you can put your car kind of wherever and be competitive, but it's because of how on edge you are every single lap. There's really no dull moment here anywhere around the racetrack. I mean, sometimes you can see guys get loose on the tri-oval. That's how hot it is. But I know these guys are having a lot of fun out here. And Bradley, you and I just get to watch this. We get to watch these different multi-lanes. We get to watch the great racing. So sometimes it's maybe even more fun just to be in the booth instead of the race car.
Yeah, I can tell you it's a lot less frustrating, especially when you're trying to get around a guy like Chuck Sweeting has been for the last 10 laps or so. He's been on the back bumper of Philip Brewer now since about lap 7 or 8, and just continuing to hound him. Fill up that mirror, and hopefully Brewer will make a mistake. But outside of that, it's going to be follow the leader and hold your line as best you can. Don't make your own mistakes, as Noah Mahalski is going to put the pressure on Sweeting.
Yeah, Mahalski's starting to seem like his car is really starting to come alive here. He's able to run that bottom really, really well. It seems like he can run it better than anybody at the moment. I know Philip Brewer is kind of electing to run both lanes and kind of cover them where he needs to, but it just seems like when Noah is running down there at the bottom, he's making a lot of progress. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see this 03 maybe get around that 75, and then he can start challenging for the race lead. But it's kind of hard to tell. How much is Philip Brewer pushing? Is he just running enough to keep the guys behind him and choose his lanes where they are to try to get some dirty air? But right now, it looks like this 03 might be one of the stronger cars on the racetrack.
Last lap times shown there on the left-hand side of your screen on that ticker. And 32.551 for Philip Brewer last time by. Max Cost was actually the fastest car on the racetrack last time around.
Yeah, Max Cox is just making great strides here over the past few seasons in SNR. We saw him qualify top 10. He's currently running top 10. And yeah, like you mentioned, running some really fast lap times. So props to him. See if he can keep it in the top 10 all day long. Noah Michalski's still trying to work on Chuck Sweeting, though, here. Bottom of the racetrack in 3 and 4. Philip Brewer loving this as he hopefully sees these guys get side by side and maybe he can run away a little bit. This might be a really good opportunity here for Michalski, though, to maybe go into turn 1 with the slider. See if he can maybe slide up in front of that 75. I don't think he's going to have quite the run into the corner to do so, but man, Sweeting is getting really close to that wall. He could be getting himself in the fence here soon.
Michalski at the door of the 75 down the back stretch. Now into 3 and 4. This might be that slider you were talking about. No, he cannot power into the corner. When you do that, though, Jeff, you do risk burning the right front off. And I do like kind of that steady approach of let's not change our line too much. Do just enough as he clears across the tri-oval. Do just enough to get by the guy and not use up your own stuff. He's got to have something for Philip Brewer if he wants to make a second attempt at another pass here.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be there in just a few moments and actually have a really good shot taking the lead. Jordan Trask now entering the picture here in the top 4. He's been a guy that's been running the bottom pretty well and consistently. So I think he might be the next guy on the list here to get past 75. I think Chuck maybe just pushed his stuff just a little bit too hard too early. Maybe, migrated up to the top a little bit too soon. It's easy to want to do that because of the speed and the grip up there. But to have the longevity in your car as we, are approaching the 25% mark here as we're going to get lap 25 next time by. It's just you get into a long run, then you're going to be wishing you didn't push your stuff. It's just something that's really tough to balance. But yeah, look at Noah Michalski here, staying committed to that bottom part of the racetrack. And it's working for him. He's getting really good drive out of the corner here. This is going to be tough for Philip Brewer to hold off. Michalski is there.
Also, you got a really good run out of turn 4. Couldn't take it anywhere as Brewer took away that lane. But here's the stab, the attempt at the lead, a quarter of the way through. Here comes Michalski in the 03. Could lead his first lap of the day. He'll stay right at the door, drag racing down the back stretch. Brewer gets a better run, of course, on the outside. And this is going to force the hand a little bit. Brewer might have to run higher than he's comfortable with. Michalski tags the apron. He's pushing up the racetrack. He'll get loose. Not enough for the lead. 0.04 of a second that time by.
Yeah, this is tight racing, man. We talk about the fantastic finish we saw last season. I feel like we're shaping up to maybe have that again. This is just really, really good racing. I think it's just a matter of time here before Michalski clears him. I think it's clearly that he's a little bit stronger, got more tires underneath him, did a much better job with the rear tires. But man, when you got clean air on the line and the race lead, you're going to lay everything out there to keep it. So don't think Philip Brewer is just going to slot in line here and let the 03 have it. But I do think after this is all said and done, Michalski's going to lead this lap, I believe. I think he will clear the 44. And then we got to get ready for pit stops here in a handful of laps, too. That's going to be a very, very important part of the race on who can execute those. Michalski a little bit loose on the corner there. Going to hang on to it. Boy, this is getting tight.
And Jordan Trask patiently watching these two race side by side. He has an opportunity to maybe take it 3 wide for the lead. He's going to get a good run here off the corner. Thought he might be able to get there.
Yeah, but where do you go? I mean, he is there. Both lanes are blocked, and maybe have to shoot up through the middle, search for some clean air.
I don't know, he took the bottom here through 1 and 2, and Michalski just not able to get by the 44. This is the frustration that I was talking about earlier, Jeff. These guys are so tough to pass. They're going to fight for every inch. And when you get to this level, up towards the front, you can't afford to give anything up. You have to use every part of the racetrack and defend.
You certainly do, and Philip Brewer is giving it all. He has right now to try and keep this race lead, but I think we're just probably a lap or 2 away from this 03 taking it over. He just has so much more rear grip, and I know that Philip Brewer keeps getting that run off the top here, but, I mean, center of the corner, Michalski is there driving there, and his car sticks so much better. Really aggressive side draft there, try to pull him back a little bit. And Jordan Trask is just like, where do I go here? He feels like maybe he could get around both these cars, but there's just no lane for him at the moment as both of these guys side by side again off of turn 4. Mahalski's going to get the lap lead this time. I feel like this is going to be a good opportunity to drive it in deep if you really want to clear him.
He's been backing his entries up, trying to save that right front. He's sticking with the 44. And I think Brewer at this point is just, okay, I've had enough, and I don't want to run the outside. I've got Trask to my inside now. Maybe I back up my entries a little bit. 80% fuel, Jeff. I'd say these cars are going to go somewhere around that 37 to 40 lap mark. Oh, Brewer in the wall.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't hurt his car too bad there, but pretty good hit. I think he'll be okay. These are Xfinity car bodies are pretty tough. But yeah, Slotno Mahalski to the race lead here at his home racetrack of Kansas Speedway. Jordan Trask just behind. Philip Brewer falls back to third, but another fast car that we haven't talked about in a minute. That's number 3, Andrew Telganov started, in the 20s, and he has now worked himself up into the top 10. And those lap times are looking awfully good. And a driver that we said takes care of his stuff, although, a little ways back there. I think we're going to see where he lines up after this pit sequence. That will be a really good indicator if this is going to be somebody that can really compete for the win.
Could also add Hunter Sr. to that list as well. He is up 15 positions, so 13 gain for the number 3, 15 gain for the number 1. Hunter Sr. started back in 25th. These two have been kind of following each other through the field. The next one in line here is watching Richard Holland. He is competing with Judson Curtis for 6th. So again, this is kind of what we saw a moment ago for the lead. The 17 Holland has been working on the 29 for about 7 or 8 laps and just now able to clear. He'll move up in front. Telganov has the door open, contact as Curtis comes off the wall out of turn 2, almost got turned across the nose of the 3.
Yeah, that could have been a big time incident. And I think a lot of these guys are maybe just trying to figure out, to slot in line here, because pit stops are going to be starting here soon. I don't think that we can go half the distance. We can't go 50 laps on the tank of fuel, not with the 80% fuel load. So I think the window's up right now, and here comes our first batch of pit stops. This is going to force the hands of the leaders, I think, here. Caleb Weekly on pit road, Matt Shanoski, Justin Ritchie, all going to be the first guys to make their pit stops.
So the 55 of Ritchie, the 31 of Shanoski, the 13 of Weekly down for service. Walski is going to go another lap. The 44 of Brewer brings it down pit road.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, too. He knew that he was starting to get beat there on the long run pace, so might as well bring it in here, get the tires, and see if you can't get that lead back from Mahalski and Trask.
Another car that followed in, it was Ben Laughter in the 64. Right sides go up, and it's going to be 4 tires here at Kansas. As hot as it is here today, Jeff, I would not chance it on 2 tires. I think the fall off is going to be well over a second with just, 25 laps. You're risking way too much on 2 tires tonight.
Yeah, certainly not in a green flag pit stop scenario. Got to get that thing full of fuel. So going to be 4 tires for everybody here, as we do see some cloud cover start to roll in a little bit. That's going to increase the grip of the racetrack here, at least temporarily. Johnson New down for his service, as well as a few
Johnson New.
That's going to be costly.
Hit the wall there on the inside, locked it up. Looked like his brake pedal wasn't calibrated correctly, and he locked up the front tires, pancakes the wall, and damage dealt to the front end of that Toyota.
Yeah, that's going to really be a tough break there for John Sanu, but the race leaders so far still electing to stay out, and we got this cloud cover. Maybe they're staying out, trying to take advantage of the extra grip in the racetrack before they get those 4 tires. But big move here for Trask. Trask going really hard, trying to get to the outside. He might have position on him, but here comes Mahalski. He's going to come bring it to pit lane here this time by.
The battle here for second now as they move up a position with Mahalski hitting pit road. And we'll keep an eye here on the 03 as he drives to his stall. He'll be up towards the front here. That's one of the factors that we don't talk about too much, Jeff, but speeding on the entry of pit road versus speeding on the exit. And I always felt like it was easier to speed on the exit of pit road because you're trying to get that car back up to speed. It's really tough to gauge when to kind of lift. You want to do it as quickly as possible to not lose any time, but you also don't want to go 3-4 miles per hour over as you hit that exit cone. With being that close to the end of pit road, though, it's a little less likely that's going to happen.
Yeah, and there's always a little bit of a buffer, too, with the speed in miles per hour. So you'll see a lot of guys try to push that really hard out of their box, and other guys will elect to be pretty conservative, not risk the penalty. But looks like a pretty good stop here for Noah Michalski as he is going to rejoin the racetrack. Jordan Trask is probably going to bring it down pretty soon. Here he comes as well.
So we'll get that telemetry on the left-hand side of your screen, 45 miles per hour. So we're on board. And, yeah, it's a little bit inaccurate. Might be 55 here today. We'll have to look that up. I think they might have bumped it up to 55 here in the recent updates.
Yeah, I do believe it's 55 here at Kansas Speedway. Jordan Trask approaching his box, looking for a clean and smooth entry. Looks like he is in. He will elect to take 4 tires here and fuel. And just a few others staying out on the racetrack so far, and that's notable guys like Richard Holland, Chuck Sweeting, Rob Hamp, Christopher Hodges, and Brandon Wallace, some of the guys yet to make their stops.
So I got to wonder, Jeff, you said we probably couldn't stretch this all the way to a halfway and one stop. But the further these guys go, the more I think that maybe it's possible.
Yeah, and it all depends really as if, was anybody saving, right out of the gate? I think if you were, maybe you could make it, but I still think that's a tall task. I think what they're going for here is just kind of playing the long game, trying to get the fresher tires for the end or for this next upcoming run. And then their very final run, would be pretty short to where they can go a little bit longer and then maybe really push it really hard for those last 20, 25 laps. So that's what I'm thinking is the case here. Otherwise, I feel like some of our leaders maybe would have tried that long distance game. But more than likely, I feel like these guys will be on pit road here. I'd say no later within the next, 3 to 5 laps.
Gonna go another one.
Looks like Chuck Sweeting and Holland both are.
Yeah. Brandon Wallace still out on the racetrack. Chris Hodges, Michael Muncie. But Philip Brewer would cycle out to the net race lead by just over a second and a half after this is all said and done. Watching back here with Justin Ritchie, it's Noah Michalski trying to get around. And Michalski has about a 3-4 lap advantage on tires, and he's still not quite able to make quick work of these guys.
Looks like he's able to get to the outside of them here, so I think he will be able to clear them fairly easily now that he has position on them. But yeah, when you're the driver on fresher tires, you're just trying to make as quick work of these guys as possible, not get held up, and really make those newer tires or use them to your advantage. It looks like he's doing just that. He's just needing this pit sequence to really cycle through, and then he should be, I believe, battling for that race lead. I think Philip Brewer, has the position on him right now. He's up the road here about 2 seconds or so. But this should be cycling through here within the next few laps and get our running order sorted back out.
Richard Holland coming down pit road now, lap 44. Will Chris Hodges and Brandon Wallace. Looks like Hodges is going to follow him in. Here comes Brandon Wallace, and that'll hand over the lead to Michael Muncie. He's going to go another lap. Going to stretch it one more for the 19 lap lead.
Yep, and a valuable bonus point too to get a lap lead. Anytime you have the opportunity, you might as well.
Oh,
go
he
ahead and get
just
that extra
missed
bonus
it.
point.
Just missed it there. Holland was just across the line as they crossed pit road, and sounds like the 19 might be out of fuel. He's on the clutch pedal. He was trying to stretch this out an additional lap. He's on it again. He's playing the really long game, Jeff. I think one of these cars is trying to make it on one stop.
It's possible. It'll be fun to watch and see how this strategy works out. But he does get the lap lead that time by. And Philip Brewer is going to be the first of all the cars that had pit. And he is 9.5 seconds on back. So Muncie going to be able to lead a few more laps here. And if he can stretch it to 50, then, maybe we do have an opportunity. But I always say this, Bradley, and it looks like he's bringing it to pit lane here. But yeah, sometimes even if you can stretch it to halfway, a lot of times it's just too much lost time to really make up for even having a chance to win the race.
So this will hand the lead back over to the 44 of Philip Brewer. Noah Mahalski, Keith Thomas back to the top three. Mahalski is about a second back, though. Execution on pit road, it was 4.6 in the box. Mahalski's stop was a tenth of a second faster, but down the lane, he was a second and a half slower. On execution of pit road, that is an eternity.
Yeah, it certainly is. And that's why we say the pit lane, is sometimes where races are won and races are lost. It's so important to have those pit sequences go smoothly and not lose time. No Mahalski with the tire advantage here, so I would think that he would probably reel in the 44, but it's one thing to catch him. It's another thing to pass him. We always say that. No Mahalski proved that he can make the pass earlier in the race when he got the lead away from Philip Brewer, so I would think he'd be able to do it again, especially now that he has a tire advantage. We'll just have to wait and see how hard will this 44 fight. And look at all the ground made up through the center of the corner. Mahalski's car is on rails here. I think he'll be grabbing the lead here within the next lap or two.
My pick's looking pretty good here tonight, halfway through, and it's the perfect opportunity here on V-Speed. If you've never watched a broadcast here for Saturday Night Racing League, this is the opportunity where we ask you to find your volume knob, that remote control, on the side of that smart device or wherever your child may have hid that remote. Let's get some noise complaints going here on V-Speed, and let's get loud. Presented by FireStorm Racing. Get Loud, presented by FireStorm Racing, and everybody and the partners here for Saturday Night Racing League in the Challenger Series with M&J Distributors in the Cup Series, Walking and Rolling Costumes, RSR Driver Cams, FireStorm Racing, of course, Clark Print Shop with our biggest mover award in the Cup Series. Noah Mahalski holding on to the lead. Michael Muncy, who stayed out the longest of all these cars. He went about 47, 48 laps before he brought it down pit road. And now we're watching Philip Brewer back on offense, so maybe he saved his stuff just enough as Mahalski charged back up. You saw how much ground the 03 made up there. That was about a second and a half of time that he made up after pit stops. Maybe he did burn it up.
It's possible, and also navigating traffic, just adds to that level of difficulty, working your way through the field. And, when you're trying to make quick work of that lap traffic, you can also, kind of damage your stuff, burn them off. But I think Noah's just trying to take it easy here. I think, I feel like he's in a pretty good spot. He's got the clean air, and I think he's kind of taking that approach that we thought Philip Brewer was doing at the early parts of the race, and that's just running as fast as you need to and maybe put your car in a position to give the other guys some dirty air.
Max Cox at the tail of this top 10. He got around Ben Lapter in the 64 and is now checked out, chasing down Richard Holland. About a second and a half back for the 17. This is 9th position for Richard Holland. Jared Skinner just ahead of that by about half a second in the number 7. Andrew Tolganoff, who's up 14 positions. He was on the move earlier in that long run, somewhere around lap 30. That car really turned up the heat. Now, you said this was the metric, Jeff, that we will find out how fast he really is, if he's a car that can compete for this win. I think right now he's a driver competing for maybe a podium finish, but definitely a top 5. And you have Justin Ritchie just ahead of that by 3/10. Here's the top 5 positions with Hunter Sr., Keith Thomas in the 91. And we haven't talked much about this driver, but he's having a phenomenal day here in Saturday Night Racing League.
Yeah, started top 5, and he currently runs in the top 5. So kind of a quiet, solid day here for the 91 of Keith Thomas, staying out of trouble, and just has had really good pace since the drop of the green flag. Maybe not the race-winning pace, that we're seeing out of Michalski, Trask, Brewer, but certainly still a stellar day here for the number 91. And you touched on Andrew Tolganoff a little bit, showing great speed. He's got top 5 speed, no doubt. I think maybe starting a little bit too deep in the field kind of hurt him. Same thing with Hunter Sr. He's made a lot of progress through the field. Both those guys, Tolganoff and Sr., started back in the 20s, and here they are inside the top 10 and soon to probably be competing for the top 5. So great run by both these drivers so far.
Tolganoff going to look to the outside. That's Justin Ritchie in the 55. Remember, he brought it down pit road a little bit sooner than these cars that are getting around him now. He was in the advantage. He was in the top 3. He's fallen back to 7th. But if you're a Ritchie fan, look at the long term. Splitting this race into kind of equal thirds makes a little bit more sense for the overall speed of this car in that last stint. So I'd say Ritchie probably going to end up towards that top 5 on this final run. 60 laps in, and we watched Jordan Trask. Well, we kind of missed it, but Trask is caught up to Noah Michalski. Going to go back-to-back here for the 79, or is Michalski still going to hold him off?
Yeah, I think Michalski right now, I feel like he's pretty comfortable. I think he's just kind of running his same line, his same pace that he's been doing all race. And that's what ultimately got him the lead there before the first sequence of pit stops here. But both these drivers just look really evenly matched on speed. Both these guys able to run the bottom very well. They move up around the track when they need to. I really think this particular battle, it might not be settled on the racetrack, but it might be settled on pit lane. Once we get to that final pit stop, which one of these drivers hits that pit stop the best, makes no mistakes, and gets the track position, I think that's where we're going to see it come down, because they are starting to pull away from Philip Brewer. Now it's about a second and a half that they pulled so far. So certainly between Trask and Michalski at the moment.
We were just mentioning Richard Holland there a moment ago. He's now got Andrew Tolganoff caught up under 0.2 of a second this time by for lap 62. The 17 car back on offense. And I'm interested to see as Holland gets to the inside of the 3 car if he can complete this. No, he cannot off of turn 2. He'll slide back up in line behind him. Caleb Weekly still having a tough day here. He's down pit road now. I think this is going to be his final stop of the evening.
Yeah, this is probably, the only option he really feels is to get to pit lane as soon as that pit window opens to try to grab some track position here. You never know what could happen out there on the racetrack, so might as well come get your service here and, run your race to the end. And who knows, you might have a caution fall at an ideal time. But yeah, certainly not the day that Caleb Weekly was wanting to have. All kind of started from that qualifying effort. I know he wasn't very happy with himself with how he qualified. Feels like maybe he could have done a little bit better. But now he's made his bed. This is the last stop of the day for Caleb Weekly. We'll see how this one turns out for him.
Gain a couple positions initially from this. Currently running in 22nd now, 1 lap down. So you got to hope that this race stays green. So we're watching the battle between the leaders again off of turn 2. Less than 1/10 of a second there for Trask. He was all over the back bumper of Noah Michalski. He said Michalski felt comfortable. I think Trask is putting him out of that.
Yeah, he is really up on him now as he's going to dive down to the apron. Michalski's going to cover it. And yeah, this has really turned up a notch. And now you got some lap traffic up ahead. Chris Rude Mahalski's going to have to navigate the dirty air there, but Jordan Trask going to get to his outside. He might have the position on him now.
I think that's the spot you would want to take that. Mahalski has been so strong on the inside. He's going to try to defend him for as long as possible. But the dirty air from Chris Rude might change things. That could be a pick here for the 79. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out. Mahalski defends.
Yeah, Jordan Trask certainly got the run, though. He's going to take it down to the inside, all the way down to the apron. And now with Chris Rude in front of you with Mahalski, you're hoping he goes to the bottom. He does. That gives you the clean air on the top here. We'll see if he can use that to his advantage, and I think it is. I think it stalled Jordan Trask out just a little bit. It's going to give Mahalski the run on exit.
They had a big run on Chris Rude. He's going to watch these leaders go by. 32 car falling 2 laps down now, back to 24th. And we've got Keith Shoemaker still out on the racetrack. Johnson New with damage. Actually on pit road now after hitting that inside wall. Tad Dabney a lap down. We still have 20 cars with Dwayne Young in the 08. He's the last car on the lead lap. And the 9 of Dabney. Touched the apron. He's getting loose. Hold on to it, Dabney.
Yeah, that was close for Tad Dabney. And now Jordan Trask has positioned himself back on the outside here at Mahalski. This might be the pass for the lead if he can hang it here, and I think he's got him. I think those fresher tires for Jordan Trask are now really starting to show their strength. He's got the position on him here. I feel like he will be able to clear it for the lead. If he can have a good corner here in 1 and 2, but Tad Dabney just ahead. Depending where he goes, that might make it tricky for Trask. 3 wide here. Jordan Trask drives it in deep. I think he's going to clear Mahalski this time. Maybe.
Mahalski's putting up a fight. They'll stay at each other's doors down the backstretch. This lap traffic becoming a factor. Yeah, it's continued on for about 5 laps that they've been side by side.
Yeah, Kansas never disappoints. I mean, we talk about the fantastic finish between Mahalski and Dakota Floyd last season, and here we are again, 2 guys that have kind of separated themselves as the favorites in the race, going at it again. This race, I feel like it's going to come down to maybe that last lap again. This is some really good racing. No driver really able to get an advantage on each other. But I think one thing that Mahalski's got in the back of his head now is that the tire advantage of going a little bit longer, I think is real. So I think Mahalski, maybe you run this tank out here. I certainly don't think you want to pit a whole lot sooner than Jordan Trask. I think Jordan went a couple of laps later than Mahalski. He's still able to keep him at bay. He hasn't been able to pass him yet. But I think it's showing that those tires that Jordan Trask has underneath that car, those are proving to be pretty valuable here late in the race.
Another situation with lap traffic as they'll go to the inside. The 08 going to end up going a lap down. Dwayne Young holding his line to the outside here through 3 and 4. Trask not able to run a different line and keep clean air on that nose. 08's going to move up the racetrack. Trask going to go back to the bottom, and we'll navigate around that. Mahalski, I mean, he's caught him at the right time. It seems like every time Trask was able to get to his outside or inside, there was a lap car that became a factor. Just perfect. I don't think he planned it at all, but just perfect of executing around them.
Yeah, he's just doing a really good job of figuring his way out around those guys, like you mentioned, and also doing a good job of hitting his marks. He's not, missing the bottom of the racetrack, and he's putting his car where it needs to be, sometimes taking away the clean air of Jordan Trask so that, a little bit less downforce for the 79. But, man, these guys have been on each other's tail really this entire run. I mean, ever since Mahalski was able to get around Brewer for the lead, Jordan Trask was right there. And these guys haven't been much further away from each other than a few tenths. This has been really fun to watch.
Richard Holland up to the 4th position. He has Hunter Sr., Keith Thomas. Andrew Toganoff is a little bit further back from this, but slowly creeping his way into the picture. And this is where the tire advantage may be changing things, as Max Costa is now down pit road with just under 30 laps to go. And it's Jordan Trask with a black flag. The 79 caught speeding on pit road.
Oh, man, that's exactly what we said, right, Bradley? This was going to come down to a pit stop. Unfortunately, Jordan Trask got a little too aggressive there and is going to get caught for speeding on entry. So Mahalski probably doesn't know that. So, he needs to also not get a penalty here. Otherwise, they're both going to throw themselves out of contention. Looks like Mahalski is pitting this time by. Here he comes now.
So let's see if he can execute his pit stop. But there's the black flag for speeding, and now the hold penalty. As the car sideways, that's the 91. He's going to send it through pit road. Keith Thomas also a black flag.
keeps it straight, but yeah, black flag for him as well. He was having such a great day, a top 5 day. So 2 of our top 5 contenders, Trask and Thomas, unfortunately going to take themselves out of contention with the speeding penalties, and Noah Michalski clean into his box. We're going to wait to see the jack drop it, and now we're going to see the left side tires go on. If he gets through this cleanly here, gets out back onto the racetrack, this thing stays green. I feel like he's got this one wrapped up, but still a lot of time left. You never want to say it's over before that checkered flag, but a really, really good executed pit stop there for Noah Michalski. He's in a pretty good spot now.
It's Philip Brewer, Richard Holland, tugging off for the top 3 now. He also had Keith Thomas there with the hold penalty. The 91 will fall back to 20th position. Changes for position, though, with the 1 of Hunter Sr. coming down to pit. 60 of Stephen Davis also in there. The last cycle of green flag pit stops. Live here on V-Speed, and you're watching Jared Skinner now lead his first laps of the day.
Yep, he's going to grab a bonus point as well, and as somebody who's competing for that regular season title, you know, every bonus point counts. So probably going to run this thing out, I would assume, unless you just wanted the 1 lap lead, then maybe we'll see him pit here. But still, you know, not the race pace winning contention out of Skinner today, but overall still a pretty good day.
Philip Brewer into his stall. Richard Holland will drop the jacks and actually end up, I think, out ahead of him, where it all cycles out. There's the 7 of Jared Skinner now coming in. Chris Hodges going to go long. He is yet to lead a lap here today, but he's going to be close. Not quite that time around, but maybe if he goes 1 more, he can get it. Be the last car to cycle through all these stops.
Yeah, and these guys, Christopher Hodges, Brandon Wallace, remember, these guys went long on that first stint, so these guys could probably stretch it to lap, 90, 95 if they really wanted to. Looks like Brandon Wallace is still going to elect to go ahead and pit now, but I think these guys got the fuel in it to go further if they want, but it's just, a matter of time before those leaders catch them on the fresher tires. We're going to see that 13-second gap from Michalski, really start to come down. Those fresh tires are really starting to show their strength.
So 2 cars still out on the racetrack with Hodges and Muncie, and Hodges will get that lap lead. They'll continue on around the racetrack. I think at this point, if you're in this situation, I'm Hodges or Muncie, I'm just going to go empty. I'm going to run this thing out. There could be a caution that puts these guys in a weird situation. And for some of these drivers that have been out here for 10 or so laps, they'll come back in and get 4 fresh ones. We have 4 sets available. We've only used 2 of them. I would come in, get 4 fresh ones for, that last little sprint if the yellow does come out. So I like the strategy. You got to do something. If you can't beat them with pace, you got to use that logic to get ahead.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about, having options is that you really have nothing to lose. So, yeah, if you're Hodges, Muncie, you might as well run it out. You never know what could happen here at Kansas Speedway in the late goings, but Noah Michalski, he's hoping this thing just kind of cycles on through and he can grab the lead, and really he's got no pressure from behind if it does cycle through. With Jordan Trask now out of the equation, same thing with Thomas, both of those guys speeding on their pit stop. So really, Michalski's got this thing wrapped up if this thing stays green.
Watching Richard Holland pick his way through the field now. At about a 6-lap advantage on Judson Curtis. And he'll go to the inside, passes the 29 up to 7th. Gonna have to chase down Hunter Sr. And there's the 79 of Jordan Trask, who had the pace to maybe compete with Noah Michalski in the closing laps. But like you said, Jeff, just came down to the pit stops. The execution on pit road, that's where these races could be lost or won. And Trask trying to go back-to-back. I know this is, not what he's asking for. He just got back to the top 10 in points. Now 19th on the racetrack.
Yeah, he went down swinging, though. A lot of times, in a tight battle like that, you got to find an advantage on your opponent any way you can. And he went for the aggressive entry on pit lane, trying to get all the time he could, and just overstepped it a little bit and came back to bite him.
Tongue off, making a little bit of an elevator move on the back stretch. He'll dive to the inside. Now looking for this 2-for-1 special. Hunter Sr., or Jared Skinner rather, in the 7. Tonguing off up to 8th.
Another guy that I've been watching has been Ben Lafter. he started way back in 24th. He was in the top 10 here just moments ago before he got passed. But what a drive for him as well. That's a lot of cars to pass, and some really good, well-executed strategy. Hasn't really made any mistakes, and he's found himself up a lot of positions since the drop of the green flag. So great run there by Ben Laughter. Here's Philip Brewer for 13th, looking to get around Laughter right now, and Judson Curtis just ahead there, and then number 29.
So Senior hanging on to the outside of this top 5. Chuck Sweeting just ahead. Senior will have a tire advantage. Can he catch him in the next 15 laps? That's what it's going to take. As you see Trass on the bottom of the racetrack, Sweeting has been favoring that higher line all the way through, and you can see it's hurting this car.
Yeah, it's like we said, it's easier to go up there and really burn your stuff up. You just use a lot more tire, a lot more wheel input, and can run the rear tires off pretty easily. So unfortunate for Chuck Sweeting. We know how good he is here at Kansas, especially when the Truck Series came here. He was a runner-up finish to an ATN Ferrata, and that was also a very exciting finish. And then we talked about last season's exciting finish between Mahalski and Dakota Floyd, and then it looked like we were shaping up to maybe have another one of those between Mahalski and Jordan Trask before the pit road speeding penalty. But now just about 15 laps to go here. Christopher Hodges still looking to run this fuel tank dry. I think he can go maybe 5, maybe 10 more laps. I certainly don't think he can get to the end, but might as well stay out, see what happens.
Yeah, you're pretty much committed to this run at this point. 40 laps now on the stint for Hodges. But Noah Mahalski has started to pick his way into the drivers that have stayed out in the long game. 38 laps on Muncie's fuel tank, and Mahalski in between these cars now by about 2.5 seconds from the lead back to Muncie. Noah Mahalski in another zip code ahead of Justin Ritchie by about 7 seconds as we watch a battle for what would end up being around the top 3. Right now it's for 4th position with Ritchie. Here comes Senior. And the one car will make the pass. He'll move up the racetrack in the wake of the 79 and pull that draft across the tri-oval. Justin Ritchie back to 5th. Again, Hodges and Muncie will have to bring it down pit road. There's no way they can make it on fuel. Hodges just committed to the long game. We have other battles through this racetrack with the 79 or 29 of Judson Curtis, the 64 of Ben Laughter. This is for 12th position. Max Cost ahead of that by half a second.
Yeah, and looking back towards, Philip Brewer running 9th, he was a guy that was competing, for the top spot. I believe he elected to go long this past pit stop, and I think that's just, it just lost him too much time. You look at where he is relative to the leader, and he's, 10 seconds behind Mahalski. So,
yeah,
looks like that's certainly not going to work out. Still a solid day. I mean, led 30 laps from the drop of the green flag, but I think certainly just lacking a little bit of the long run pace that we saw in Mahalski and also Trask. So maybe going to be a race that Philip Brewer looks back on and wishes he would have approached a little bit differently, or maybe saved the stuff a little bit better. But man, it's tough to beat Noah Mahalski here at his home racetrack in Kansas Speedway. Runs very well here, and I could tell from the drop of the green, the way he was able to run the bottom versus everybody else just looked really smooth, and he just looked really comfortable out there. Just a matter of time here. Now he's going to get the lead back here from Christopher Hodges, and you'll have to wonder, right as Hodges gets past here, is he going to go ahead and just bring it to pit lane, or is he still going to stay out and maybe see if he can catch a yellow?
He's going to bring it down pit road. 15 going to finish out this cycle. We also have Muncie on the racetrack. Again, you said he could go past lap 90, and mathematically he's going to be about 5 laps short on fuel. He has a lot of hungry cars behind him, with Richard Holland now to the top 4.
Yeah, solid run there by Richard Holland. Kind of been up in the mix here all day long. And the one guy, man, I've really been impressed with tonight, that's Hunter Sr. Finds himself in the 2nd position after starting all the way back in 25th. What a drive that's been. So a clean, solid day for
Imagine
Hunter Sr.
If he qualified better, he would probably be up here competing with Mahalski.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he's certainly got the long run pace for it, and that's a lot of cars to pass. I don't care where you start. 25th to 2nd, he had his day cut out for him, and still kept it clean. No incidents, no mistakes on pit lane, and just a really all around super well put together race here for the number 1 of Hunter Sr. This is one of his best runs for sure, in my opinion. Not going to have, the pace to go up there and drive around the 03 of Maholski, but still, you got to be pretty proud of yourself after a performance like this.
Well, and Hunter looked really good at New Hampshire last week. I know you had kind of touched on the highlights, and we saw some of that in the pre-race. You talked about Trask, and there's Muncie now coming down pit road for the final stop. He made it to lap 92. He had fallen out of the top 3, and I think he's decided that it's time to bring it in. Might just top off with fuel. I think I would just top it off. I wouldn't take 4 here.
Yeah, maybe 2 tires, but I think you're right. I think he's just putting fuel in it. Yep, and he is away. So probably the right call here. Now you just get it back out there and kind of see where you fall.
Yeah.
Went for the gamble, trying to hope for that late race caution before you pit, and looks like not going to get it. But still, he might be able to salvage, top 15, top 10, depending where he comes out here.
And it's Noah Maholski approaching 5 laps to go. Statistically right now, Jeff, I'm looking pretty good. We're watching a lot of races here, participating with these guys, of course, last season and now in our 3rd season of Saturday Night Racing Challenger. I think I've got it pretty down for who's going to be good where. Again, though, we could have anything happen here. It's not over yet.
No, it's certainly not, and we've seen that happen way too many times here in SNR when you think it might be wrapped up and might have a late race caution. So not trying to speak one into existence, Brad, but we certainly have a handful of laps here we got to tackle before this one is all said and done. But still, you got to talk about the great drive here by Noah Maholski today. He had, that battle with Jordan Trask. We thought it might be able to go either way, but every time Trask got to his outside, it seemed like Maholski had enough rear tire to power off the corner and retain the lead. And he navigated lap traffic better than anybody tonight. So that always plays a big factor. And then you talk about his pit sequence, right? No mistakes on any of his pit stops. He really set himself up for success today.
Caution free, 5 laps to go from Kansas. You're watching the Saturday Night Racing League Challenger Series, season number 3. As Maholski continues to thunder around, 22 of you are watching here on V-Speed, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do so. Helps us out tremendously and helps get your favorite drivers up on the big screen. YouTube's algorithm likes to push when you like and subscribe to the channel, so try to get this out there. Like, share, and follow this broadcast, and like, share, and follow Saturday Night Racing League. They've put on 5 successful seasons over the Cup Series. Jeff Wright, one of the admins. Jeff, you can credit the drivers in this clean race. This is the quality product that we've been looking for, and the Challenger Series has been putting it on for a while.
Yeah, they certainly have very entertaining races all throughout, and a caution-free race so far. And looking to finish that way, Bradley. Let's not speak one into existence here, but yeah, very all-around great race. It's been a great season so far. Super entertaining. 2 wins on the season for Jordan Trask, 2 wins for Philip Brewer, and Noah Maholski looking really solid here to break through for his first win of season 3 here in the SNR Challenger Series at his home racetrack. So this is probably no other racetrack he'd rather do this at than right here at the Kansas Speedway. And both Noah and I, we had the opportunity to go out to Kansas Speedway for NASCAR weekend last week. So we got to see some good racing there. And here Noah Maholski is back on the sim at the track that he was just at, looking to click away a few more laps here, and he'll have a win under his belt here for season 3.
It's almost like an advantage to be able to be here and see the track physically and kind of understand it. Some of these drivers walk the track before they come out, and being there in person, iRacing's telemetry and their scans of the racetrack make it as close to the real thing as possible. And I think Noah Maholski's feeling that right now, channeling the energy to become another winner of season number 3. White flag in the air for Noah Maholski off of turn 4. The Quickling 03 has been dominant in the later half of this race. He's going to have over 40 laps led, coming up on his 47th. And it's one more time around, 1.5 miles to go to add his name to the list of drivers that have a victory this season with Philip Brewer, Muncie, Trask. It is a limited list so far for 6 weeks, and Noah Maholski is going to do it. Here he comes off of turn 4. Noah Maholski in the 03 is victorious. at Kansas Speedway. There was
You can't do it much better than that, Bradley Cooper. 47 laps led, made no mistakes, drove up, took the lead away from Philip Brewer, and really never looked back. It was pressured a little bit by Jordan Trask there, who took himself out of the equation with that pit lane speeding penalty. But, man, it seemed like once he got that lead, he was in total control of this race. And I know this track means a lot to him. Everybody, wants to win at your home racetrack, and Noah Michalski gets it done at Kansas Speedway, his 33rd career start in the SNR Challenger Series, and he grabs win number 5 of his career, and he is going to burn it down here on the front straightaway at Kansas Speedway. And this is the momentum that he needed to kind of get himself back into gear. He wants to get into race winning pace week in and week out, and here he is, gets it done at Kansas. These guys are gonna have to look out for this 03 come playoff time.
In the chase format, wins are important. They give you a bonus. The 0-3 of Michalski looking to do a little Polish victory lap as he'll go backwards down the front stretch. Post-race interviews with your top 3, and we'll be talking to Noah Michalski right after we get those final race results. You are watching the Saturday Night Racing League Challenger Series, presented live here on V-Speed. More coverage with Jeff Wright and Bradley Cooper right after this.
JS Racing. We're in the game.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Drivers, start your printers.
To keep pace with the ever-changing landscape of marketing and advertising, let Clark Print Shop help you spot the trends and keep you in front of the pack with all your color printing needs. From business cards to invitations, menus to mugs, we can print anything you need on paper or your choice of over 3,000 promotional items. Visit www.clarkprintshop.com to browse our online catalog and place your order today, or call us at 276-889-3426. For a limited time, use the code iRacing for 23% off your first purchase. The staff at Clark Print Shop looks forward to handling all your color printing needs.
Walking and Rolling Costumes started when my son Reese was born with cancer.
So when I was 3 years old, I got my first wheelchair.
And he wanted to be Wall-E for Halloween that year. And so I knew you couldn't buy a costume to go on a wheelchair at that time. So I knew I had to build one.
My dad ended up building a Wall-E costume out of a Dell computer box.
When we were all finished, he loved it. We took pictures of it and shared it on social media. So many people started sharing it that we started getting requests from people we didn't know.
In 2015, we decided to build them for other kids because people were asking, hey, can you build them for my kid?
So we started the nonprofit organization, Walking and Rolling Costumes, and we build costumes for kids all over the nation, free of charge to the families.
Welcome back here to Kansas Speedway, the track in the Midwest that put on a phenomenal caution-free show. And the strategies that were played here today of splitting this race into thirds were all over the place. But it was Noah Michalski ultimately getting the win as the 79 of Jordan Trask made a mistake on pit road. The 44 of Philip Brewer kind of got mixed up on his strategy. And Noah Michalski won this race by 5.05 seconds. It was a pretty dominant performance, Jeff. We haven't seen one of those in a while here in the Challenger Series.
Yeah, certainly a great performance. We talk about them having that battle with Jordan Trask a little bit late, but other than that, I mean, those two guys were really the guys that were going to go out and win the race. And it was Michalski that really never let this race get out of his control, kind of kept the lead and kept the tires on it, executed the pit stops, and he comes home a race winner here at Kansas Speedway.
Hunter Sr. and Richard Holland with a top three. Good to see Richard Holland back out here, and a great performance by Hunter Sr. I think a win's just around the corner for him as well. We'll get a word with those drivers in just a moment. 0 cautions, 10 lead changes, as we said before. Justin Ritchie holds on to a top 5, and Andrew Toganoff from 21st starting position all the way up to the top 5. He gained 16 spots to be here. He'll come home with a great day. Philip Brewer back up to 6, so decent recovery for the situation he was in. Chuck Sweeting back to 7th. Max Cost a solid top 10. Jared Skinner in the 7 will finish in 9th. And it's Judson Curtis in the 29, rounding out your top 10.
Finishing 11th tonight, it is Ben Lapter in that number 64 machine. Started all the way back in 24th, so a big gain for him. That'll be fun to watch on board his YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. Rob Hamp in the 18, he will finish 12th. Matt Shinosky started 14th, up 1 position to finish in 13th. Stephen Davis will get 14th tonight. Caleb Weekly battled his way ahead for a few spots and salvages a top 15 finish. Brandon Wallace in the 16th spot tonight. Chris Hodges on that alternate strategy never got the caution that he was hoping to try to kind of flip his track position. Jordan Trask had that speeding penalty late, took him out of contention for the win. He finishes 18th. Same thing with Muncie on the alternate strategy as Hodges, going long, didn't work out, gets 19th. And Dwayne Young in the 08 finishes in 20th.
Benjamin Richards, 2 laps down here. He started in 26th, so ended up 21st here tonight. Tad Dabney had a handful all night long. He'll finish in 22nd. Chris Rude, solid start. You just got to get that one to the finish line here, Chris, and he's improved and going to come home in 23rd, but great start to the race in 11th. And you have Keith Shoemaker in 24th. It's 91, another one of the speeding penalties we talked about. Execution on pit road kind of did a lot of these drivers in. Johnson New locked up the brakes and crushed the front end of his car. Ends up 26th here tonight. Mark McFadden will finish in 27th. And Logan Watering electing not to grid here today. He'll finish in 28th. But now it's time to bring up your victory lane and the celebration here. I picked you to win here tonight, Noah. You got it done, though. You executed 47 laps led. Fantastic drive, your home track, and now you add another one to the trophy case. What should have been last year, you got it done tonight.
Yes, sir. Feels great to finally win here. Feels like a big weight lifted off my chest. I thought I was going to get it last season, but had that pretty, I don't know if you want to call it iconic, maybe for this league of a finish. Came in on the short end of the stick last season, but got it done this season with a pretty big gap. So,
well, no, there's an important question, and a lot of us up here in the booth have been asking. A lot of people have been talking about you're favored to win anywhere we go, and it's been a rough start here for the first 6 weeks. Does this finally turn the season around? I know you've been favored to win the championship every single time we've had the Challenger Series.
Well, I hope so, Bradley. It just seems every season at least last season for sure, we had a rough start to the season. Kind of seems like it's going the same way here, but then we just kind of picked up momentum, kind of towards the midway. So I feel like we're kind of at that point, hoping we can get a few more wins and get some more points. I don't know if the regular season championship would be in our sights. I wish it was. Those bonus points would be nice, but I don't know if that's going to be plausible this season.
Then finally, we got to talk about your experience. You were at Kansas Speedway with Jeff Wright just last weekend, and going there and seeing it in person. Does that help at all here on the iRacing side of things with maybe your approach and seeing how the counterpart in the real life drive?
I mean, I definitely feel like I might have picked up some things, but it didn't seem like the top was as good. I guess I didn't really run the top that much this race. I was trying to run the bottom and just save tires. But the bottom just seemed so gripped up all race. In real life, there's definitely a lot of speed up top. I think some of the guys in real life were able to get the bottom to work. But yeah, it's nice to win here. Nice to do a little burnout, and then at the end there, do a burnout right in front of my seats. So
yeah. Came across there on the start finish line and took it all the way back down to where you sat. And I know that this is a good solid start to get this season turned around. You got a lot of people that back you up and again, picked you here tonight. So I'm really glad that you came through and delivered on that. Do you have anybody else you want to shout out though, while we have you in the V-Speed booth?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out all my friends watching, my girlfriend watching, coworkers watching. Even I think we're gonna go get a little drunk after this. But they've been started a new job, and I've had coworkers that have actually been watching the races. Got the sponsor on the car, so good to get that in victory lane. And shout out to Bailey. Told him I would see him in a little bit, and he said, "Oh, I'll be seeing you sooner than you think. I'll be watching the race." And I was like, "Oh, well, you better be wearing the Quick Lane shirt and the 03 hat." And he said, "No, I'm going for Brewer." And I was like, "Oh, I see how it is."
He's
but
just
we showed
going
him
with
tonight,
stats.
so I guess
Well,
can't
there
blame
you
the
go.
stat man.
Yeah, proved him wrong. I knew you were good here. Everybody knows you're good here, and I think it's kind of shown itself in your improvement, and you'll be going on to next week there. I think we're coming up on Watkins Glen, so hopefully we can have another week of Noah Mahalski up here in the broadcast booth. We appreciate you coming up here.
All right, thank you, Bradley.
Noah Mahalski, victorious here at Kansas. He led 47 laps to bring it home on the top spot. Jeff Wright has caught up with our second place finisher. A great performance for him. It's Hunter Sr.
Yeah, I'm standing alongside Hunter Sr. here up in the V-Speed booth, and talk about a drive from the back to the front, Hunter. This was certainly an impressive run for you, and it was fun to watch up here from the broadcast booth. One, how did you do all that? Because it seemed like passing for everybody tonight certainly wasn't easy, but 25th to second seems like you kind of made it look like it was easy.
Well, I mean, I think us starting so far back, a lot of people let their guard down. We had to make sure that nobody knew that we're actually fast here. To come back here, after last season finishing third, I wanted to make sure that we were going to start in the back and kind of surprise everybody. So it was all planned. I just wish I could have came home with a win.
Yeah, Bradley and I were talking about, had you qualified a little bit better this evening, maybe you could have been right there battling for the win with Noah Mahalski and Jordan Trask, because you certainly had the long run pace in it. Two top fives for you consecutively now, back at New Hampshire and now here at Kansas Speedway. Does that build some momentum moving forward for you? Obviously, that's going to do some good work for you in the point standings, and coming out of Kansas with a solid finish. You have to have some momentum going to Watkins Glen. Is that somewhere you feel like this momentum can carry over to?
I mean, I surely hope so. I don't really want to put myself in a scenario there to say that I'm going to be a contender. Definitely maybe a top 10 or top 5, but these last 2 weeks, on the Cup side and down here, it's been nothing but almost flawless, and I couldn't really ask for better. Besides being able to pull away with a win. I hope next week we can able to keep the momentum up.
What is it about these tracks like Kansas Speedway, for example, and also looking at your resume here, you've been pretty solid at tracks like Homestead, Miami, both racetracks that generate a lot of tire wear and have multiple lanes. Finishing third at Kansas Speedway last season was a highlight for you, and you back it up this season with a solid second place finish. What is it about these tracks with those multi-lane high tire wear that make this place really comfortable for you?
I mean, I think it just all boils down to we're, a lot of these guys, a lot of them are fast, and right off the rip, they're pushing as hard as they can. And in the back of my mind, I know that if I give up positions, that's okay. We'll get them back in the long run. And like you mentioned, Homestead, that was kind of the big factor of being so loose there, and us all sliding around. It kind of translates to how tonight was. It was pretty loose, sliding a bit, and then later in the run we get really tight, and just notice that at these tracks these guys are just pushing really hard, not really managing their tires, and just so happen to be a little bit better than they are.
Solid finish tonight here at Kansas Speedway. Real quick though, Hunter, before we let you go, anybody you want to thank, maybe give a shout out to?
Juicy Spider, every single one of those guys. We had Jared out there tonight. Solid run for both of us to be able to put it in the top 10. We have Mike Morgan, Donald Kite, Josh Adams, Nicholas Hapiak, Mike's wife. Every single one of these guys, they help us out in every single way, and not just on the racing side, but the editing. They're really great at it, and couldn't be more thankful for those guys. I wish I could have put the car, the High Side podcast car on victory lane, but you can't ask for anything better than a second place, I guess. So, big thanks to those guys and everything they do for us, and couldn't be more thankful.
Hunter Sr., second place tonight here at Kansas Speedway. Thanks for talking with us.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good night.
So Hunter Sr. backs up his solid Kansas Speedway performance from last season with third, and he gets himself one spot better tonight with second. Moving along to our third place finisher tonight, it's Richard Holland, and Bradley Cooper is standing by.
Yeah, I have Richard Holland, and I was kind of wondering maybe there was a chance that you would make an appearance here tonight, Richard. We had you on a little hiatus here for the first few weeks of the season, but the 17 car came back and looked just as strong as it left off there in the season 2. Talk us through your race and maybe a little bit of strategy played to get you a few steps ahead of these guys towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it was a pretty good race, clean race. Everything went really well. The car just kind of tires plateaued out there at the end of the run. Didn't seem to matter much if you saved or what you did. Just kind of leveled off at the end of the run. But yeah, we tried to take care of it early and then ran it out, almost out of fuel right there. Just as long as we could go, and then realized that second run that again tires only mattered so much, and then they leveled off and you couldn't go anywhere. So we just ran it as long as we could pretty much there, and then short pitted the second time, or the last time there rather, and just tried to make up as much ground as we could with the fresh tires there. So, but it was a great race, clean race. It was fun. Wish I could have qualified a little bit better, I guess, but didn't really have a lot of time to practice, so I wasn't really sure how hard to run the car, how hard to take, how much to take care of it. But it was a lot of fun though. Good fun race. I was glad I come back to get third.
Well, and in that hiatus, I know you've got other series and other leagues that you participate in. Where you been hiding so long?
Well, actually, all the leagues I was racing in got done, so I took some time off, and I didn't realize this league would even start it up so quick. I was just telling them down there, I was like, man, I didn't even realize you guys were racing again. Like, must have only taken a few weeks off or something. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I've just been taking some time off. Haven't really raced much in the last, I don't know what it's been, month and a half or so.
Well, outside of that, Richard, it's good to hear your voice. Good to have you back here at SNR and the Challenger Series. All the people that back you up here in the number 17, go ahead and shout them out.
Yeah, just a lot of guys that I've raced with for a long time. We don't really have any teammates over here in this league, but other leagues and friends that I have. You, Brad, Coop, for a long time, hanging out. You painted this car for me, so got to thank you for that. Just a lot of guys, man. Ricky, I don't know, man. Just a lot of friends, a lot of guys that we hung out with, raced with a long time. Appreciate them, guys.
Yep, the list is pretty big, and it's crazy how much of that has migrated over here to Saturday Night Racing League. But we'll see you next week. I don't know what the chances are there at Watkins Glen, but we might get to talk to you again in Saturday Night Racing. Until then, stay tracking, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's a good, fun league, competitive, a lot of fast guys in here. Definitely would like to race some more and see if we can't get a win, see what we got for these guys.
Richard Holland, third place here. He led 6 laps, started in 8th. Podium day for the 17. There you go, Jeff. That is a phenomenal race, a caution-free one, and the mistakes, that's where they're compounding. When you have a mistake on pit road and this race stays green all the way through, you pay the price.
You certainly do. And it also just shows you got to be perfect to win here in the SNR Challenger Series. You're not going to be able to get away with a mistake and, still figure out how to win the race. You really do got to be perfect. And Noah Michalski was just that tonight. Wins his 5th career race in the SNR Challenger Series and his 33rd career start. And the rest of the field, they're going to have to look out for him now that Noah Michalski has got this thing figured out again.
Well, you'll catch us in just about 45 to 50 minutes time as we get set for the Cup Series. It's going to be week number 7 for them as well. And it's going to be at Dover, the Monster Mile in Delaware. Again, you can catch that at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be going live with the Cup Series. Bailey Turner leading the points. Jeff Wright trying to chase him down. It's all going to be brought to you live here on V-Speed. For everybody here at Saturday Night Racing League, all the partners, Jeff Wright, my co-commentator up in the broadcast booth, Adam Baker for all he does in the background to make this stream look pretty, our co-owners, Eddie Smith and Morgan Cook, the other producers, Logan Threlkeld, Lucas Lyons. This is Bradley Cooper saying so long from Kansas Speedway. We'll see you in about half an hour to 45 minutes. Till then, stay tracking, everybody.